You're struggling with Candida and cutting out the wrong foods. You cut out carbohydrates, you cut out fruits, you follow a strict anti-Candida diet, and still you feel bloated, exhausted, and frightened of eating anything. The problem is that a whole mango and a spoonful of refined sugar are treated as if they're exactly the same thing by so many people. Well, in truth, they are definitely not. In this video, I'll show you 7 high carbohydrate foods our clients eat to balance their Candida symptoms, often in a matter of just 3 to 7 days, including foods you may have been told never to touch. Food number 1 is probably the first food most anti-Candida plans would remove. I'm Paul Tarbath here, nutritionist and health coach at vibewithhealth.com. Now, I know how frightening this can be because I watched Yulia, my wife, go through this many years ago when she was battling with a Candida overgrowth, and she spent around 2 years trying to manage the symptoms on a low-carb and so-called anti-Candida diet. She removed sugar, fruit and other carbohydrates, and she tried remedies and supplements and different restrictive diets, but I would still come home from work and often find her in bed too exhausted to really do anything during the day. The more food she feared, the smaller her diet became, but she was not becoming healthier and more energetic. With her anti-Candida diet approach, she was instead making her more ill and worsening her condition and symptoms. When we changed her overall eating plan and switched to a high fruit plan instead, within just 3 days, her bloating and Candida symptoms were gone. It was such a profound change we could hardly believe it. That was a very fast turnaround for us and made us question the rule that all carbohydrates are automatically the enemy. Before we begin, these foods are not 7 magic antifungals. Candida normally lives in and on the human body, and its presence does not automatically mean that you have a problem. It only becomes a problem when it goes out of balance. This video is for the person who has made her whole life smaller around an anti-Candida food list and is now asking the question, what can I actually eat? If you would like to discover our system that has helped over 500 women lose between 15 and 20 pounds in 60 days completely naturally on a high-carb plan, as well as balance their hormones and get their life back, then be sure to watch the 5 minutes video breakdown that you will see in the description section. Just go and grab your spot. Stay with me through all 7 foods because the first few feel very familiar, but the final 3 are where our approach becomes very different. So the first one is berries. So we're talking blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, for example. And even conventional anti-Candida diets will often allow a small amount of berries because they are less sweet than many tropical fruits. We use them for flavour and for their high-level antioxidants, but here is a part people often miss. A small bowl of berries may look delicious and eye-catching, but it won't give you enough energy for breakfast on its own. We normally combine berries with a more substantial whole fruit carbohydrate, such as bananas, mangoes, or pears, for example. So berries certainly enrich the meal, but not in terms of their calorie content. And while berries are the fruit most Candida plans are comfortable with, food number 6 shows why the fibre inside sweet fruit also deserves attention. And the next one are apples. Apples contain pectin, which is a type of soluble fibre, and researchers found how certain pectins can potentially help protect the gut barrier from damage caused by Candida. This kind of research reveals a blind spot in the usual conversation about sugar. When someone looks at only sugar in an apple, for example, they ignore the water content, the fibre, the pectin, and food structure that comes with it. Before we continue, tell me in the comments which fruit were you, or perhaps still are, the most afraid to eat after starting an anti-Candida diet. The research on fruits like apples and their health-promoting content like pectin, a soluble fibre as we explained earlier, helps us look beyond just the sugar alone. The next one is pears. We very often combine pears with bananas and berries. They add more healthy carbohydrates, vitamins, fibre and calories. And pears by themselves are not a secret Candida remedy. Their value is more practical. A sustainable approach should increase your confidence around food and not make your safe food list smaller, too restricted and difficult to follow. If pears increase gas or bloating, just reduce the portion or pause them. A food can be highly nutritious but still wrong for your current level of gut health. Personalization is not failure. Building your gut health is a process and a journey and individual. The first 3 foods help with variety, and food number 4 can make the whole eating pattern even easier to enjoy. The next one is oranges and other citrus fruit. We use citrus for flavour, fluid hydration, nutrients and its carbohydrate content. It can also turn a seemingly plain bowl of greens into a delicious salad. If you're introducing citrus, whole oranges are a clear starting point rather than a large glass of strained juice, because the whole fruit keeps more of its natural structure and fibre. Some people tolerate citrus perfectly, while some may notice some digestive discomfort. So please don't turn this video into another rigid rule book. Begin with one fruit, one sensible portion and one clear observation, and take it from there. If this sounds like your own story and you have tried the anti-Candida diet, you tried supplements, endless restriction, but still feel bloated, tired and confused, there is a link below where you can learn more about our own approach and explore if our 8-week personalized coaching program might be the right fit for you. This is for ambitious professional people who value energy and performance and who feel they have already tried everything and now they need help understanding the best eating plan for them to move forward, rather than collecting another random list of foods that most probably won't even help them. Now we are moving into the 3 foods that create the strongest objections, starting with one that many people believe is simply too sweet. And this one is mangoes. Mango gives sweetness and usable energy inside a whole food package that also contains water, fibre and lots of micronutrients. We use in smoothies, cut fruit meals and even savoury dressings. And this is where someone usually says, but what about all that sugar? No, a whole food mango and a sweetened drink or table sugar are definitely not the same thing. Remember that fruits contain fibre, sugars and lots of other health promoting compounds, unlike refined sugar. The next food solves another problem, and that's not eating enough calories, or more specifically, to function properly and carry out your daily activities, you need more energy, so more calories. So the next one is bananas. Bananas are often removed because they are a very sweet tropical fruit and high in carbohydrates, so high in sugar. But in our approach, they are a practical calorie anchor, or put another way, a great fruit to base your fruit meal on, as they are also great for their calorie content. If, for example, you replace fruit with salads and do not replace the missing calories that your body will actually need, then you'll simply end up undereating. Then you will suffer from low energy levels, cravings, poor concentration. So eating enough calories is really important at each meal. We use ripe bananas in smoothies, for example, with some greens and berries. And their role is simple. They make it easier to eat enough whole food without depending on other foods that are, for example, too low in their calorie content, or will make the Candida overgrowth and symptoms even worse. But start with an amount that you can tolerate. The goal is to eat health-promoting foods that will start to help the process of healing the Candida overgrowth and not make it worse. Eating bananas challenges the unfounded fear of eating sweet fruit, especially when it comes to healing Candida. But the last food goes even further because it is often treated as almost identical to eating sweets or candy. And that food is grapes. Yes, grapes are sweet, and yes, some of our meal plans have used grapes as a simple mono-fruit course. Not because grapes kill Candida, they don't. We use them because they are also a simple whole food carbohydrate that can help someone eat enough while keeping their meal naturally low in fat and high in healthy fruit carbs. Our method is not about adding large fruit meals on top of a diet that is high in fat already and highly processed food. The menu plan is built around whole fruits, vegetables and greens, and high in whole food carbohydrates. The fruit itself is not the complete answer to dealing with the Candida, but it is a large part of how we help people overcome their Candida problems. Now let's answer a question you may have been asking yourself throughout this whole video, and that is, doesn't Candida use glucose as a fuel? So doesn't fruit feed Candida? Yes, Candida does use carbohydrates, but that fact alone does not mean that removing every whole food carbohydrate and replacing it with another type of food will solve a person's Candida symptoms. In fact, we've helped hundreds of our clients balance their bloating, Candida and gut problems with a high-carb diet plan, even if everything else has failed. The important thing to understand here is that fat takes a long time to digest, and this can allow the Candida to remain in the gut and even get worse, even if the meal is very low or low in carbohydrates. On the other hand, fruit is very easy to digest and absorb, including the sugar, so it's not hanging around in your gut for very long and feeding the Candida overgrowth. Think fruit carbs as quick and clean digestion. Now here is the most useful action that you can take after watching this video. Do not add lots of carbs on top of your high-fat anti-candida diet. You need to lower the fat in your diet and do a short cleanse before you can start introducing more carbs to make sure your body cleanses the excess fat from your bloodstream before you can start eating a high-carb anti-candida plan. So this means literally moving away from the typical anti-candida advice of going high fat, and if it's not working for you, then that's a big sign that you need to change your approach. Make sure to establish your baseline for 2 to 3 days and note your bloating, bowel movements, energy levels and overall symptoms, and then go from there. So the 7 foods are berries, apples, pears, citrus fruits, mangoes, bananas and grapes. You don't need to be frightened of fruit and healthy whole food carbohydrates. The goal is not to starve yourself of food, but instead to eat the right foods and build a whole food approach. One that gives you enough energy, supports the wider gut ecosystem, greatly reduces or removes ultra-processed foods from your meal plan, and is sustainable. Our approach is high in whole food carbohydrates and low in fat. And if you're still wondering how fruit sugar can be different from other sugars that you've been told to avoid, watch the next video. We explain why trying to starve Candida can keep some people trapped in restriction and how we separate whole fruit from processed sugar inside our approach.